Today I am in Wetumpka, spelled kind of crazy, spell it right here, Wetumpka, Alabama. And today, well, this is gonna be another true crime story. This story is not only heartbreaking, but it has some really crazy twists and turns, especially at the end. It's wild. Today we're gonna be talking about the murder of Anna Cardwell. Elmore County, Alabama is a small outskirts of Montgomery. It's a small town just right outside of the big city of Montgomery. People come to retire and try to live their lives as easily as they can. This small town of Wetumpka here, I have visited before. I don't know that I've ever done any true crime stories from here, but this is the town when Tim Burton came here and filmed that movie Big Fish, and I know I've done the Big Fish filming locations before. It's just a beautiful small town. Just to refresh your memory, you may recall that in Big Fish, this is where Tim Burton filmed like a parade scene where they were having like a giant parade through town, coming right off of that bridge there. Now, another movie that they filmed here was called The Grass Harp with Walter Matthau. Filmed right here at this spot too. Obviously, because we've been going to Georgia and stuff, I haven't been back here in a little while, but one of the last times that I was here, we were here to document because a massive tornado touched down and just completely wiped out everything on the other side of this bridge. It completely devastated the city, and I've ridden up here to Wetumpka so I could kind of check it out and see what it looked like.
Widespread damage in Wetumpka tonight after a tornado ripped through the Elmore County town.
Last week, I think, they aired a TV show on like HGTV or something called like Hometown Makeover or something, where after the tornado came and destroyed basically everything on the other side of the river across the way there, it was every bit of that was just trashed, and they came and cleared it all up, and it looks like they've turned it into a park. It looks a lot better than it did.
Hey, hometown takeover! We love our hometown!
After receiving over 5,000 submissions from towns across America, Wetumpka, Alabama made it to the top of the list.
Your town!
Your town! We're coming to Wetumpka, Alabama!
Oh my God!
After a devastating tornado struck this town a few years ago, the resilient people of Wetumpka came together to rebuild their hometown from the ground up.
But, I could come back and do an update on the town later on. Today's story, we're talking about Anna Cardwell. Now, this story, it's not like it's a really old story. This happened in 2012, February 15th to be exact, the day after Valentine's Day of 2012. On February 15th of 2012, Paula Cardwell, her husband, Joe Cardwell, and their 20-year-old daughter, Anna Cardwell, they all lived in a house which is right back here. Now, obviously, as you can tell, it is a private drive. It's a private property, so we can't get back there. But I can show you the house they lived in because there was news footage of it, and the crime scene video, they filmed the house. So any of the pictures or video of the house that I show you, that's where I've gotten it from. Either the news footage or the crime scene video, stuff like that. Back to Anna's story, though. As I said, February 15th of 2012, the day after Valentine's Day, Anna's mother gets up, gets ready, and heads into town to do some shopping and run a few errands. But when she left that day, she had no clue that would be the last time she would ever see her daughter Anna alive ever again. I'm not sure where the father, Joe, was during all this, but I know he wasn't at home. Then shortly after Paula left to head into town, into Wetumpka, Anna Catherine Cardwell was shot 4 times, with the final fatal shot being right in the middle of her head. A few hours later, after Anna would be shot, Paula would return home to find the most horrible scene that they could have ever imagined. As a father myself, I really can't imagine what it must have felt like for Paula to come home and find her daughter in that condition. I mean, it's horrible to even think about, yet Paula Cardwell did it. She came in from running her errands to find her daughter Anna laying in the middle of the kitchen floor in a pool of blood with a giant bullet hole right in the center of her forehead. Man. The Cardwells frantically called police, who swarm the house here within minutes.
My name is Paula Cardwell, and I just came home and oh my God, and there's blood everywhere.
They put up their crime scene tape and start trying to figure out what happened. They soon discovered that Anna's car is gone, that the killer not only killed their daughter, but then stole her car afterwards. But that also sent police down the direction, was this a robbery? Did she die so someone could steal her car? Although they first thought that it may have been a robbery gone bad, they soon realized that Anna's car was the only thing that was taken while in the Cardwell's home. Police found that all of their electronics, jewelry, they had cash money laying out. Prescription drugs were sitting in multiple places. And they even had firearms in the house. None of it was taken. Anna's car was it. None of the rest of it was touched. Now, as they keep on investigating, police find muddy footprints that lead down to a ditch that is out in this wooded area back here behind the house. And they quickly learn that the killer stalked them. The killer waited in that ditch out in the woods for Paula and Joe to leave Anna there by herself so they could come in and kill her. It certainly didn't seem like a robbery as they started putting all the pieces together. Anna's car being stolen then seemed as if it was like opportunity, as if it was a spur of the moment type thing. So the police kept investigating. They dumped Anna's phone to try and see if they could get any leads. And they see in her text messages where for the last few days, Anna has been embroiled in a conversation where Anna was trying to convince one of her best friends, who was named Lacey, to not date he was a friend of theirs. His name was Josh. Now, Anna, Lacey, Josh's sister Jessica, and quite a few other people, they all were like in one social group together. They all went to high school right here at Hopeville High School, which is just right up part of Wetumpka, pretty much. Because they all ran in the same circles, Anna had known this guy named Josh for several years. He was actually like the older person of the group, so he was old enough to buy alcohol, and he threw all the parties. So basically, Anna knew who Josh was, and in the text messages, Anna's pretty much telling Lacey that he's a bad dude and she should leave him alone. Anna's legitimately worried, and, she just wants the best for her friend. Right after learning all of that information, though, a police officer stumbles across Anna's car sitting here in this Winn-Dixie grocery store's parking lot. It was abandoned. It was empty. You can see here from the picture that KFC there in the background as they are loading up. So it was sitting like right here in front of us. So the police now have a few leads to follow up on. They start searching the car for evidence, fingerprints, DNA. At the same time, they are actively trying to find out who the other participants of that conversation were. From talking with Anna's mother, Paula, and some of Anna's other friends, the detectives head out and track down Joshua Casberry. They discovered that this was the Josh that Anna was trying to warn Lacey about in those text messages. So they catch up to him, and they just want to talk to him at the start. They don't know that he committed this crime, but they want to find out what his story is, and they just have to touch base with everyone involved in these type situations. Unbelievably, when they catch up to Josh at his house, he confesses. He tells them everything. It's wild. He didn't even try to hide it or lie about it. He immediately comes right out and tells them everything. Josh Casberry told them that not only did he go back into the woods and wait in that ditch for Anna's parents to leave on the 15th, but he also was there for many hours on February the 10th watching them and stalking them. But the parents never left Anna alone at her house, so he never had a chance to. So he abandoned it that night and returned again on the 15th. But that's not all, though. I mean, Josh was like a regular songbird. He was telling them way more than they even suspected. And he divulged to them that his best friend, Cody Abernathy, knew all about it. This guy knew what he was going to do, and even drove him to the Cardwell's home both nights, and then came back and picked him up on the 10th when he abandoned the idea of killing Anna. Unbelievably, Josh tells them that just a few days before the 10th, him and his partner, Cody, they broke into a home, and the owner of the home was there. So during this home invasion, they used shotguns, and they held up this older gentleman. His name was Larry Mann. They broke into Mr. Mann's home and pointed shotguns at his head and took a handgun collection that he owned. One of those guns was a Glock 9mm. It was the gun that Josh would use to shoot Anna just like a week after the robbery. So after confessing to a whole nother crime that the police didn't even know that he was responsible for, he then goes into what happened on the 15th at Anna's house. Like we talked about, he waited out in the ditch out there in the woods for Paula to leave. And as soon as Paula left, almost instantly, he came out of the woods. He walked up to the front door and he knocked. Well, Anna and Josh obviously knew each other. They ran in the same group. Even though Anna apparently thought he was a bad guy, they were still friends. So she let him in. Josh and Anna argued back and forth over Anna talking bad about him to Lacey, where he got angry and he pulled his gun and fired twice. I guess he missed once, and then he struck her in the shoulder with one. He then says that Anna tried to run away. She ran through the living room, through the kitchen, and out the back door. She got about 2 steps out the back door when he grabbed her by her ponytail, yanked her back inside into the kitchen, where he shot twice more, delivering the fatal blow to her head. Then after he shot Anna, he panicked and he hopped in her car, Anna's car, and left. He gave the detectives every little detail, including where they could find all the evidence. So detectives, Elmore County detectives, serve a search warrant on his apartment, and they removed 59 items that they labeled as evidence, including his mud-covered clothing, boots, the knife, face mask. They found the gun, a 9mm pistol that was the same caliber used to shoot Anna, and they eventually would test, and it was the same gun. And they also removed boxes of illegal steroids, which they would later go on to say that it's very possible he killed Anna out of roid rage. He was, roid rage is the thing. So a year later in 2013, right off the bat, Josh Caspery originally pled not guilty by mental defect or something to that nature. As it got closer to trial, apparently his lawyers didn't think that was going to play, so he took a plea deal. He pled guilty to capital murder to avoid the death penalty, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This story does not end there, though. It gets even crazier. This is the Elmore County Jail. This is where Josh Caspery was incarcerated between the time he confessed to murdering Anna Cardwell and then until after his trial. Now Josh resides in the St. Clair Correctional Facility in Springville, Alabama. But prior to that, he was right here in the Elmore County Jail. Josh's little sister, Jessica, would go on to approach an inmate who was out on work release, and she offered to pay him $500 to smuggle Josh pieces of hacksaw blades so that he could use them to try to escape. The inmate went right to his correctional officers and told them, and then Jessica was arrested for trying to facilitate an escape. But the story is still not over yet. She bonded out and was out, and she then goes to her friend Brittany. And from what I can gather, Brittany liked Josh. She was crushing on him while he was in love with Lacey. So they had this whole love triangle thing going on. And then Josh's sister Jessica was friends with all of them, and she's just on the outside stirring everything up. Jessica has Brittany come right here out in front of the Elmore County Jail, write down all of the whereabouts of all the windows, all the doors, and any other entryways. Then she has Brittany relay that information to Josh over the phone. The prison phone system where everything is always recorded and always monitored. They hear this. They quickly move Josh to a segregation unit so that he wouldn't try and escape him. And they go and arrest Brittany Penn. This is wild. It's crazy. Man. So as I said, the murderer of this whole thing, Joshua Caspery, he was sentenced to life without parole. He will never get out of prison. He's going to be there for the rest of his life. His accomplice, or his ride to the Cardwell's house, Cody Abernathy, was sentenced to 5 years for hindering prosecution. He was just released in 2019. Josh's sister, Jessica, was sentenced to 28 months for trying to facilitate an escape. Obviously, That time has now passed and she is out. And then Brittany, the one who wrote down where all the doors and windows are, she was sentenced to 180 days for obstruction of governmental operations. And she's obviously served her time and is out. And what a crazy, crazy story. When I started this, I was just coming into it as a true crime, the murder of Anna Cardwell. And then as I got further along in it, I started reading about them trying to break him out of prison and the escape attempt. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So Paula and Joe Cardwell, Anna's parents, they absolutely know that there's nothing out there that can bring Anna back. Her murderer is locked up for the rest of his life and can't get out. But they wanted to keep her memory alive. So Paula would later go on to open this restaurant called Anna's Place. And it is dedicated to Anna's memory. And to this day, both Paula and Joe Cardwell still live in the same exact house where their daughter's life was taken for no reason. They still live here. I mean, this was just a wild story. It really was. That is going to do it for this episode and the murder of Anna Cardwell. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you're new here, go down and hit that subscribe button. Then hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. If you want to help support the channel, check out the links in the description box below. Thank you all so much. You know what? I'll see you again tomorrow. All of you, please stay safe and stay healthy. Much love to you all.